Abigail is the new horror film from the Radio Silence team. Yes, the same Radio Silence team that brought us the dumpster fire that is Scream 6. I can't say that I've been all that impressed with them as filmmakers up until this point, but I wanted to give Abigail a real chance to impress me, because at the very least, it is a somewhat original concept. And most importantly, it's not connected to anything that's going to make me be extra critical of it, like I was with their Scream movies. So what did I get out of this movie that I decided to give a clean slate to? The answer is pretty much nothing. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
Before I get started, I'd like to kindly ask that you hit the like button, and please subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
Abigail follows a group of would-be criminals who kidnap the 12-year-old daughter of a powerful underworld figure. Holding her for ransom in an isolated mansion, their plan starts to unravel when they discover their young captive is actually a bloodthirsty vampire. And that right there is one of this movie's biggest problems, in my opinion. Going into it, we already know too much.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
There's this kind of whodunit aspect to this film in the first act, which probably would have been a lot more intriguing if we didn't already know from the trailers that Abigail is a vampire. It kind of takes the mystery out of things when you already know who the killer is. And if it wasn't your goal for this to be a mystery, then why do you set it up that way in the beginning of the film? It kind of gives mixed signals about the direction that they wanted to take. I think if they would have been a bit more ambiguous in the trailers about who or what Abigail actually is, then maybe this whole opening sequence and the film in general would have been a lot more effective.
That makes sense.
That being said, I do think the character of Abigail and how vampires are portrayed in general in the film is one of the better aspects of it. The actress who plays Abigail, Alicia Weir, I thought did a great job playing both sides of this character. Both the innocent girl and the bloodthirsty killer, and she's very believable in both roles. They do toy with the rules just a little bit as it pertains to what we know about vampires in movies. I like it when movies set up their own set of rules to make their vampires a bit more unique. And this film has a little bit of that going on, so I have to give it props for that. The downside of that is the movie tries to do this whole played out, self-aware thing. The thing that the original Scream did so well back in 1996, and that modern Hollywood can't seem to pull off without it feeling cringe. You've seen the scene in the trailers for Abigail where the characters are talking about the different vampires from different movies. And when you see it in the movie, it's just not as clever or as witty as they want it to be. In fact, I could say the same thing about most of the dialogue in this movie. A lot of it comes off as very try-hard, perhaps trying too hard to be cool and failing at it. As for the characters, they range from decent to forgettable to downright obnoxious. I felt like Dan Stevens did a decent job playing the douchebag character of this story. As for Melissa Barrera's lead character, I understand that this is a sensitive subject for some.
You about to cross some lines.
Guys, relax.
And I don't know if it's the writing or her performance, but in this movie, like other movies she's done, her character comes off as very dry to me. Just these emotionless vessels reading off of a cue card. Maybe that's intentional, I don't know. But it does make it difficult to get invested in any character that she plays. And they do desperately try to make you care about her, giving her a tragic backstory and a long-lost child. And she's the only one who shows care and compassion towards Abigail initially. But at the end of the day, her whole character feels very cliché to me. And in that aspect, I guess the writing team deserves a little bit more blame than Melissa herself. She even has this mysterious stranger moment that we've seen in movies a million times before. She's one of those characters where she can just look at someone and somehow she knows their entire backstory. It really just feels like they're hitting familiar beats with her to get us to a inevitable and predictable conclusion.
Not impressed.
One of the things that I did like about the movie was its use of practical effects. It's very refreshing to not see CGI blood in a modern horror movie. And to the film's credit, there is a lot of blood spilled. The pure horror moments are fine, I guess, but there's nothing really that's all that memorable. The other positive is the setting. I'm just a sucker for a gothic, creepy old mansion. And I do think the film uses that location pretty effectively. Another aspect to this movie that I found to be very underwhelming was its finale. Now obviously I can't get into spoilers because I try to be as spoiler-free as possible when initially reviewing a movie. But this is one of those movies where it feels like it's doing twists and turns just for the hell of it. And it's kind of random to the point where I'm not sure it all meshes narratively.
No, don't like that.
There's a couple of double crosses, some switching sides, good guys turning into bad guys, and bad guys turning into good guys. So it really makes you call into question the motivations of these characters, and it does make the ending feel a bit messy and convoluted. I actually kind of got to a point where I was a little bit checked out towards the end of the film, because it felt like things were just happening for the sake of them happening. All of the switching back and forth just made me care less and less about the characters or their stories. The twists in a film have to feel earned if they are to be effective, and I just didn't get that feeling here.
How can you not care?
Like this.
Bottom line, Abigail was pretty much exactly what I expected from the trailers, and that's mostly because the trailers reveal too much about the film. I wasn't really shocked or intrigued by much at all, either from a narrative standpoint, from a filmmaking standpoint, or from an overall horror standpoint. This very much feels like the Megan of 2024. It's applying a very familiar formula, while also trying to keep the illusion with bells and whistles that it's mostly original, but in reality, it's really not. A lot of it felt very been there, done that, with the exception of a few interesting changes to vampire lore, which wasn't enough to make me feel much of anything while watching this. And that's why I'm going to give Abigail the Careless Sam Gerard.
I don't care! Y'all be cool. Right on.